Hey everybody, welcome back. Northern Lion Plays Chess. Forget these meme openings. You know, it was a fun little one-off, and maybe we'll do some more stuff like that in the future. But let's play some real chess where we got some time. Not a whole lot of time. The idea, I just picture like a Ukrainian man in his 80s laughing at me for saying that real chess is 10 minutes aside. Real chess is 2 hours aside. Honestly, I think we just got bodied here. I think our only response is now d4, and now we've almost transposed into a completely different opening altogether. Like now if I do e4, like the center's open, I don't know, would I rather be down? I mean, I don't want to leave my e-pawn on an island by leaving it open to being taken, so I think our only real response is at some point we're going to try to do like e3. So I think it behooves us, if you will. I think it behooves us to perhaps put our bishop to f4 so that we can push to e3 without trapping our bishop. This is new to me, though. I'm imagining this is like we're in the last book move situation. We also appear to be playing against a good gamer. Actually, I think we just like e3 here. And then we're giving black the option. You know, if they want to take, then we take, and this looks fairly traditional. It's a bit strange. I think I like the capture here. Because we either capture or we move the bishop, and it's kind of trash that way regardless. I also, now that I look at this, now that the bishop's gone, I kind of like the idea of actually taking here. Forcing the queen to move one more time. And then the flip side on that is we have like some extra pressure on this. But then on top of that, they have an island pawn at D that requires like a considerable amount of defense. So I think that this works out pretty well for us right here. Tomo, okay, I gotta let my cat out. Okay, Tomo. Okay, Tomo. There you go. I think we're okay. I imagine they will castle. It's kind of like a costless move, if you will. They did not castle. I don't think this changes things too much for us. Like, I think we do very well, for example, with like a move like this. But I think maybe they're probably going to castle next. So I think we're actually going to go bishop here. Why not check? Because it gives them a free move of development of the knight that they're probably going to want to do at some point anyway. At which point we'll follow it up with something like this and see where they would like to go. This is a pretty powerful position for our knight. And honestly, I think we'll follow it up with a castle of our own. Whose position is better? I'm going to be honest, by the way. I will trade my knight that I think is trash for your knight that I think is half decent. And it's not an orphan pawn anymore, but it's not in a great position. So this is a vulnerable spot. I do think we want to get control of this C file, okay? So we're going to do something like this. This bishop is horrible. Explain to me why I should care about this right now. Like, I know that there's this, sure. And we are going to run into a time crunch. But I kind of like the idea that honestly... like we have control of this for one, but like really they're making the choice to kind of drive their queen like further and further behind enemy lines, which can be quite nice if it does something. If it does nothing, on the other hand, then the queen is just getting in increasing degrees of danger. Like somehow if you go here, I go here, you know, we have it's a fork in some ways. It doesn't actually fork anything, but it forks the queen that would be at this position, and then also the rook at this position, which is defended by our own rook. So it just, you know, we kind of are driving the danger right now. Let's put it that way. So I think we do this first. And this gives us the chance to possibly in the future double up. See, like this, I don't like this from the queen. Now we got to think, like, if we go here, it's no longer a fork. But can we, like, maybe trap them in here? Like if I, for example, like let's say I do something else. Like let's say I put a threat on the knight, which then they would just fork us. So it's not a great move. All right, disregard that. But like this pawn is obviously in danger. But I'm almost like if I let him take it and then I do this, like where would you go? Here would be safe. Okay, fair enough. But it's I don't think this is a good position for white. Let's put it that, or for black. Let's put it that way. I think we want to double up here. It defends the pawn. We'll probably want to do something like this in the future, and then we get a real, like we're driving the bus right now. We're also 2 minutes down on time, but I do feel like we're kind of driving the bus. So we have to be, I wouldn't say we have to be careful. I think we do this. And then the idea is we have a threat on this pawn that probably warrants a defense, which gives us a move, I think. Now again, I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. It is interesting, right? I think we have to take. Fair enough. But I am also thinking like, okay, what if we just did this instead? I don't think it's going to get any worse for us. Tomo, you'd like to come back in? Okay. The reason I want to trade is, well, actually, you know what? We don't need to trade. We have no reason to trade. But what if we did this instead? Let's walk it through. He's probably not going to go here. He's probably not going to go, because we would just take him. He's not going to take this. So he's not going to go here or here. So he'll probably go back maybe along this diagonal, maybe to here. I think it's worth a try. I think I'm too happy to take. As was mentioned in the lesson we had with Levy, I'm too happy to trade. Sometimes we got to be comfortable with being a little bit uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, okay, sure, we got some stuff going on here. Or if you want to think about it this way, we got some stuff going on here. But let's get some stuff going on here as well. You know what I mean? Let's force you to maybe think about where you want to put your queen next. So you have taken a rook. You just want to do a straight up swap here. I see why that would concern you. This is an interesting move. Okay, so I didn't really consider the idea that he would just take. We can kind of break even, but I think we lose tempo. Like we can just take this. Alternatively, we could swap here, at which point we're tied. He takes a pawn. I have to respond with my bishop, and then this pawn's in a spicy spot. But if I take this, then he goes here. Then what do I do? It's a good move on his part, I'll admit. Obviously, we have to respond. He took a rook. So he's up by 5 right now. I wish that we could take and then get like a discovered check, but we can't. So the real problem is like, okay, let's assume I take, he goes here. How are we going to defend our rook? Or our knight? We're going to go here. And then maybe like, that's not great, but it does open some stuff up. Okay, so I think we do it. Let's do it. Let's get weird. It's chess, baby. That's chess, baby. I mean, at the end of the day, we can still do this, and it forces a response. Only this time, like, the response has to be different. Maybe it doesn't. No, it doesn't really force a response. So check this out, dude. This is actually just not good. So I'm like, okay, no, this is genuinely bad. I think he just takes now, and I lose the knight. Am I okay with just losing the knight? Yeah, probably. Let's walk this through. Why is this not good? He takes, I take, he takes. You know, is bad. But what if we do this? He's gonna take my queen. I take, and then we're in checkmate. That's a good point. Ah! It's just not the move. literally just misclick city. Okay, so we're gonna accept the trade here. We have to. But that's yeah, so he's avoiding the mate. And honestly, like at this point you kind of just resign. But we're gonna do a proto resign instead. I've got to avoid my own backline mate for the record. This is horrible. He has a 3-minute time advantage. I wasn't even, like, was I clicking on the bishop? I guess I was clicking on the bishop. Is there a way to turn? I want to, like, turn on double-click moves or something like that. Like, it's just getting too crazy. We'll play out until it's, like, clear that they're not going to blunder, but for now, this is, you know, obviously not great. A pretty considerable disadvantage. Now I'm playing like 1-minute chess. So I'm like, just send it, dude. What do we have going for us? Like, I'll be honest with you, we have like literally nothing going for us. We're down in material. We're not really down in position, but we're kind of, you know, we're equivalent in position. Yeah, do it. Don't even think about it. Just do it. Ooh, okay. So somehow now we've actually just won the game. So we're gonna call that Egg's Gambit. What is Egg's Gambit? Egg's Gambit is when you get your opponent in a false sense of security. And as a result of that, at least play them out to a draw, but this should be a win. So the thing that's worth noting here is we can't trade them down. We have to actually get leverage. We have to be able to take some of the pawns for free. Otherwise, this is a draw. So like I really don't, I kind of want to push like into the back here, but I also need to be able to defend my pawns. So this is one worth thinking about. I apologize for the vacuum, by the way. Like, I think this is okay. Like, if he goes here, he's going to attack this pawn, which is fair. But we're going to try to get, like, one of these pawns and then push another pawn to the end if possible. Okay, so this is not good for him because he has to fall back to one of these two squares now. Or he could push this pawn, I suppose, in which case we just take it. Okay, he is resigned. We got, let's just be honest, that was just insanely lucky. Like, there was really nothing I could say there that is like, hey, we did such a good job, I'm so amazing. So, let's look at this. 79.9, considerable blunders. We were down by 5 pieces, and then we won. Okay. Maybe I'll pause this analysis until the vacuuming is done, but then I'll see you in a minute. All right, we're back to analyze this pure skill victory. I really liked where we were in the opening. I thought we did the opening pretty well and the mid game pretty well until the huge blunder, but then we pulled it back, which was, I mean, luck, but also we didn't resign, which is a very powerful tool. Okay, so we're walking it through. Book. It's book, baby. I'm a little surprised that this is book, honestly, because I puzzled that out at runtime. That's not for memory, but okay, it's not book, but it's liked. It's the best move. I don't like this move, and I think that the capture is the best move for us. They like bishop to b5 check instead. If we walk that through, what's the difference? Very little. Let's not walk it through. If there's like a 1-point difference, I'll walk it through. If there's 0.14, I don't think I'm capable of understanding that. Okay, so fair enough. We're up by half a pawn. Then we took. They do like it, but they still like the check. They do like it. I still feel good here. Seems fine. They still like the check. They're going to like that check for a long time. They like queen to d4. Doesn't change things too much, but they do like this just fine. They castle. I move my knight out. They prefer rook to c1. Now that's actually something we probably should have considered, even though it's pretty close. Rook to c1 gives us the ability to get, obviously, a discovered attack on the queen. And then I'm almost wondering, like, if it doesn't go like rook c1, I don't know what they do. Let's say it's something like that. Then we take this, and I don't know how they respond. I guess they would. I guess they would just take that. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's what we did. That was the best move, which surprised me actually. I guess it makes sense. It has some protection back there. This was considered the best move. We're up by almost a pawn, but it's been hard fought. That was also the best move, just for the record. Now, this is questionable. They say it's a mistake. Why is it a mistake? I do feel like capturing made the most sense. They do at least like it. Okay. It loses us. I wonder why. I wonder why this is better. Okay, so, I mean, let's walk it through. Obviously, they're not going to take, so they're going to move their queen somewhere. Trying to think of where. I guess the idea is that in all likelihood they either, like, maybe they move their queen back here so that, well, they still have protection there. I don't know. I would feel like they do something like that. E7 is an inaccuracy. Knight takes, okay, they would do knight takes c3 instead, okay. And then we would, this is a tough one. They do still like the white position, so I'm trying to figure it out. I think it's that. Yeah, that's still the best. And then they would do this, obviously. At which point, I think I would just do that. That way, it looks weirder, but we don't lose the pawn that we were originally going to lose. Like, our b pawn was going to get taken by the queen instead. And then they have to find a way to react to this. Probably something like that. No, they like b6. Okay, so they just keep pushing the danger. They don't even reinforce the piece. All right. Interesting, the way things could have gone, but they didn't. So we were here. Yeah, they took my knight. They still like our position, though. We're up by 2 pawns, roughly. What happens next? What do I do next? I do feel like next I did rook to c1. It's considered the best move. Very nice. They do queen to b4. Not a great move. Gives us almost an extra pawn. Now this is where we probably start to make some inaccuracies. No, they actually love b3. They consider it almost best, but they still want us to force the trade, which probably makes sense actually. Like, I'm trying to avoid trading unnecessarily, but forcing a trade or a big move, because I mean obviously we would have access to that pawn if our queen were there and they moved their queen, for example. They wouldn't move it here, but you get the idea. And if they take, then we get this and we still have control down here. Like, it's nice, and this bishop's doing nothing, so we would be in a good position. Anyway, they like it. Okay, questionable move. Gives us another pawn. Then I'm going to say this is where we fail to capitalize. Yeah, big mistake. We lost like 2.5. We lost almost a piece effectively on that. They prefer h4. The idea on h4 is simple. They have to do something to respond, or else they'll like lose their bishop. Fair enough. Didn't see that in the moment. But anyway, here's how it did go down. Also questionable. They gave us the advantage back in return. Questionable. What do they prefer? Knight to b5, which we had prognosticated before. But here's what I didn't like about it. Okay, so we do knight to b5. Don't they just take? No. Why? Don't we do this? No, c7's a blunder. They like c3. Okay, hold on. So we would do c3, at which point they can go here. Where do they go? Not probably b2 is excellent. What do we gain out of this? I guess is what. Oh, we gain the knight for free. Ah, we didn't look at the continuity. Hold on. Yeah, okay. So the real value here was, and this is, I'm dumb. The real value here was not in that this move attacks the queen. It's that it gives us a discovered attack on their knight. So if we walk this through, so like, let me walk it back. Okay, I did that. They moved here. They don't have protection on this. This move creates a situation where this is now under attack. I was not considering that. I tunnel visioned on that. So then they would fall back to here. And after they fell back to there, which is probably their best move because they need to defend the knight, I think we start reinforcing the... No, they hate it. Oh, that's better. Okay, because it gives them it's a pin on the queen. Okay, and then you would think maybe that, but it's not, obviously, because they need some reinforcement here, so probably something like that. That leaves us not up by that much. But it's still obviously good. Maybe we then start to put some pressure on them with this, and then they would have to respond maybe like that. And then okay, so now I can like play through the game myself. And then I don't know. At this point, what do they do? Probably something like that. No, it's a mistake. They like queen to f7 instead. All right. And then it gets a little complicated, but I don't know. Anyway, that's not the way it went down. It's interesting to think about how it could have gone down if I'd seen that, though. Okay, so yeah. This is where we last were. They still like our position. This is a good analysis. I feel like I'm learning a lot on this, which doesn't happen that often because most of the times I don't pay attention. So we still like knight to b5, but that's not what we did. Okay, so now they still like our position. This is where it goes wrong for us, though. That's okay, but they still want us to push the bishop, which we should have done earlier, I agree. Everything's still fine. They still like it. That's the questionable move. That lost us 2 points. So if we take this instead, I imagine you do that. And then maybe we do this. No, they like knight to d4 instead. It's not bad, though. We're still up by a pawn. Instead, the way that it went down, I took with the knight. They do this. We're still up, which is kind of surprising to me. That is highly questionable. We're now down. C1 is a mistake. They prefer d2. See, I thought that was a good move, personally. And this is like, what? What are you doing? Okay, and this is where that was the misclick. So I don't feel too bad about that. These were all the right moves, even though we traded our queen. Sometimes it sounds bad, but sometimes it's the right decision to just trade your queen out. Like, you wouldn't do it on purpose, but if you've been caught in something, then, like, knight and rook in exchange for queen is probably a trade we would consider bad, but it's not so bad as to be, like, you lose the game instantly, although that's how I felt. And then, I mean, we don't even need to talk about the remainder of this. I was on tilt, and then, like, they just made a blunder. Okay, so, like, I'll take it. That's not the kind of game where you really feel great about it because of the fact that we won due to our opponent's blunder. But we also did find ourselves in a down position due to a misclick. So, you know, you take the good with the bad, I guess. Hello, Luke. Luke, I gotta ask you, okay? You made your name Luke27 France. What happens when you're not 27 anymore? I've always been curious about this. We're gonna try to push d5. Take some control of the center. He's more developed than I am right now. Let's be honest. Let's force his hand. I imagine he'll fall back, but I don't dislike. Oh, okay. I think I'm okay with that. I would say I probably prefer black's position right now, but let's push this and see how he likes it. Probably a check coming. It's okay. We were probably going to develop the bishop here or here anyway. Put some pressure on this piece, but, you know, we're free to castle afterwards. Now, he will probably look, in my opinion at least, he'll look to put some pressure on our d-pawn, which is a little bit suspect right now. He's got his own set of problems, though. You know what I like from black here? I was going to say d3 or d4. I think I prefer d4, but that might be personal preference. I think at this point we castle, freeing the bishop from the pin, defending our king in a better position. It's a more open game than I'm used to here lately. So he wants to prevent bishop to g5, which is a pretty common development there, I suppose. What's our plan right now? That's a great question. I don't want to just do moves just to do them. Let's like we want to emphasize our developmental advantage, I think. I think we want to fight for control of the E file. So I'm going to it's a multi-step process. I also think we could, in theory, push b4 and start to like do some attacks on the queenside pawns there, but for the time being, let's do rook to e1. I'm not sure it's the best move, but we're letting him know, like, hey, yeah, we're gonna contest. Because right now, like, where do you gain power in this game? This open file is where I see like the biggest. Like, whoever controls this is gonna have the ability to control where the game takes place, if that makes sense. I don't want him to have so much control over the center here that I can't like move pieces, you know, around. Here's what I like, okay? So I know that we interrupted our own train of thought there, but I feel like actually this is horrible, and his bishop is never going to do anything here. I actually love the idea of closing this down now, and the problem is like this is a very powerful spot for him, but will he go there? Now, I know this looks weird. I would like for him to take my rook, to be honest. You know what's an interesting play here? What about this? No, that's bad. Why? You think it's because of that, where I just take him back. That's not the case, though. It's a bad move because I would just take his rook instead. So he can't move the knight, or I'll take the rook. I think a b5 move forces him out now. Like he has to maybe move his rook. I think it's almost a free move for us. Although I am like, dude, if I, because here's the problem, okay? Like, let me walk it through. If I like, let's say I do b5, okay? He takes here. You think I take, but I don't, because that's checkmate. So, instead I do this. What if he does that? Then I take, and it's checkmate. So I actually, though I hate to admit it, I feel like we want to develop our bishop first so that we have some protection for our rook on the back file. And then we push b5 to try to get this out. Because we knew like that was likely to happen. Either way, I would say we're still pleased with b5. And we've got to get some time back. I don't want to leave my d-pawn on an island, of course, as we've talked about before. I think we're content with this pawn situation. I think we just leave it as is. So now, again, we're kind of driving. We have to think about where we want to take this. We don't want to push the pawn, because it would let him go here, which is too good. We don't want to do this, because then our pawn structure here, this pawn is too weak. We don't really want to take bishop for knight, because our bishop is okay. So I kind of like this, like knight for knight. But this, I don't know. I don't know if it's powerful enough to justify. Let's see how he reacts. And we would take with the bishop. It's not like necessarily a complicated game. It's just, I don't know, I guess it's a little weird. All right, maybe I'm, oh, is he just going to take here now? It's a good point. Didn't really see that one coming. We don't want to trade knights, for the record. But I'm like, it's weird, because, okay, he does this. I do something like that. Yeah, okay, let's think about this for, like, momentarily. What do we do from there? Actually, nothing. Like, it's actually just bad. But it's kind of fun. And that's worth something in my book. It's the idea for me now. We don't want to move queen here. That's just like, you get forked. That's like a huge beginner trap. And obviously we don't want to, I mean, the same reason we can't put it here. We'll get forked. The expectation, and I mean, we're already forked. So the expectation, and I think like this is fair play on him. I think we're going to lose the bishop for the knight. That's what I would say right now. What if we did this? We can't give him this square. So if he does this, oh, we're screwed. If he does that, we're screwed. No, we're not screwed. You just take that. Okay, never mind. No matter what, like, you can't give up this square. So this bishop, the only way it can get taken right now is via the knight. But we want to put some pressure on. So I had a feeling that was coming, to be honest. I'm okay if he wants to capture this pawn. We're not going to trade into it, though. So I actually feel, I mean, we can get our pawn back. Does strike me as like a little spicy, but it puts a threat on this rook, which is kind of interesting. Let's give that a, you know, if you want to get weird, let's get weird. That's chess. We do have a check. Again, the check is not good. Like, it doesn't accomplish anything. But this is a good place for our bishop to be in the sense that it controls a lot of space. It's kind of a bad place for our bishop to be in the sense that, you know, it has literally no protection whatsoever. But now, like, we can actually go like that. So hear me out here. What if we do this? I don't know if I would suggest it, but it's what's being done. Presumably he takes with the pawn. He could also put me in check. If he puts me in check, he puts me in check. It's a pretty good move. So what am I thinking now? Like, what if you just take? Okay. So the idea is he takes with the rook. He gets the bishop, but you get a pawn out of it, and you get the knight and maybe a better position for your queen. But let me walk it through, even though we don't have much time. What if I take, he puts me in check? Then, so let's go through it. I'm up a pawn. He's up a bishop, down a pawn. I'm up a pawn. He's up a bishop. Bad trade. However, you know what's like a really good trade here, now that I look at it? Something like this. Should have done it earlier, probably. A fork on the king and the rook. He will not take with the queen. What he would look for now is probably a way to maybe try to get this bishop. Almost misclicked. A way to get the bishop out of it. So I don't necessarily feel like we should start trading just yet. But I do feel like something like this, for example. We're not really looking for the trade. We're more looking for this pawn. We have a 2-point advantage right now. We have protection against the back rank mate. He doesn't have a dark squared bishop that could skewer these. It's pretty good. If anything, we're more likely to get a... it's not really a back rank mate because he has the ability to move his queen or his king here, but... So, we do have a time disadvantage, always worth considering. Another play that's actually kind of interesting for me is the idea of doing like rook to here, and then you have some protection for like a pin on the queen. Remember, this bishop though, like, is not movable. So I think he's trying to catch me in a trap where I do this. Then he does this and I lose my queen for a knight. We're not going to do that. Instead, we'll do this. Okay, about that. Sometimes in chess you see you can't see the forest through the trees. So yeah, okay, you know, maybe my bad. The funny thing is he's only up by 1 point. That is very hilarious though. Now, I mean, I accept that he would like to trade for certain. I don't really want him to. So let's hear me out. No, I think it gives him too much. What if we go here? Why not here? I feel like this gives him too much power. I mean, he is a queen. He's got a lot of power. But one thing we could try to set up is almost like a cheeky pin versus checkmate. I mean, obviously, like, it shouldn't even need to be said. We blundered heavily. But what's the pin into checkmate? We need a bishop covering this square so that we threaten our rook down here with the pin. We also want maybe our bishop to be on d3. That way, if he gives up the check, he actually would be in checkmate, because he couldn't do this. He'd be in checkmate, or he'd still be in check. Couldn't do that, obviously. Not because, I mean, that's not where the check would come from, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think we still like what's happening here. We just want to put some protection on our bishop. And I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm just saying it's possible. I mean, this would be... We've already pulled out one miracle win. This would be a miracle 2.0. Let's put it that way. So he wants me to not go here, which is a very astute move. Instead, however, what if we were to push to here, for example? Still creates a very difficult situation for him, I think. Oh, no, it doesn't, because he just takes this pawn. And then probably takes this pawn. But then I'm like, wait a minute. You're not in mate after that, but work with me. See, I wouldn't have done that if I were him. I guess he wants this instead. It's actually probably a better pawn. Maybe I would have done that if I were him. So then we've got to be very careful, because he... I mean, this is really bad for us, obviously. We played pretty poorly. I thought the game was really good up until that time where we lost the knight for absolutely no reason, or lost the queen to the knight for no reason whatsoever. But you also have to acknowledge, like, yeah, if you want to get better at chess, you're gonna have to stop doing that. But simultaneously, you know the expression, like, S happens. Every you know, even great chess players occasionally blunder profusely. I'm blessed, I think, that at least we have some kind of possible action on the enemy king. Like, what does he do? Oftentimes, they'll just start putting you in check. But if he puts us in check over and over, if he gets pieces out of it, it's good. If he doesn't get pieces out of it, it's very bad for him. Because it takes up time. He's got the advantage. I was just going to say, so like here, I think I know what you're thinking. You're like, do this, but then that becomes so strong, we can't put him in check because he would just take us. So instead, I think you just honestly move so that you don't... It sounds weird. We don't, if possible, want to create leverage on a white square piece, because then his bishop can get involved in the attack. Now, that's a pretty high-level analysis for somebody who, you know, if we're being honest, just left their queen out to dry for no reason. But oh, dude, that was a great checkmate. All right, fair enough. 5 blunders. I think we all know where this one's going. I would say that we had a pretty big advantage until we didn't see our queen getting taken. And we'll take the L on that one because it's a very legitimate L. We were up by about 6, and then it all fell apart. This one, I think we can live with key moments. So this is our last book move. If we look at the analysis, we're still up. Standard, pretty standard. Standard moves. Let's get into some non-standard gameplay. Forget key moments. That's where they're like, what? What are you doing? That's considered a mistake. Instead, we should do rook takes e1, which is good. Isn't that what... Hold on. We play b5, which is bad. They say queen d2 is best, actually. Okay. Never mind. So if we did this, we did queen d2. They respond. This. I mean, it still looks... We have an advantage there, so clearly the computer knows something I don't. But what we ended up doing was actually this. Okay. Bad move. They did that. Very questionable. Well, because honestly, now that I think about it, they could have set up the fork immediately. Okay, so they just waited too long to do that. Again, they're like, why aren't you doing anything about the fork? And well, not the fork, but the free pawn, I should say. That's a good move. Remember, this is... Oh. They're like, what are you doing? You're down by 5? What are you doing? This is where we should have forked them, and we didn't. Instead, we missed the win. They blundered again. They're like, what are you doing? Finally, we got it. Okay, now we're way up. They're like, what are you doing here? And then, so like, what should I have done here? This is the good question. Let's walk this through, okay? Because this is where it all went wrong. Obviously, you can't just let them take your queen. That's arguably the worst move. I think instead you just move like your king 1. Nope, that's still really bad. Oh, they like this. Okay, because then after you do that, you can't move this, and then I take. Okay, well that's very clever. We did not see that though. Instead, this happened, and I mean from this point it's over. That was a good episode, though. We got a lot out of the instruction. We learned some things. For now, though, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Upset a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future, and we'll be back with more chess soon. See ya!